It's recording. Okay, so over to you, Mollie.
All right, let me just share my screen here. 1 second. Okay, 1 second here. All right, everyone can see my screen and hear me okay? Great.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Rafna, for having me, and to everyone for attending tonight. I'm so excited to speak with you all and super excited about Women Who Code and Let's Eat Grandma coming together for this exciting session. So today we're going to talk about how to create a killer resume, and this is going to be about a 30-minute session. I definitely want it to be interactive. Please, talk to me. I don't want to just be talking at you. So if you have questions, feel free to, jump in the chat or just, unmute yourself and ask. So we'll just jump right into it. So just a little bit of background about Let's Eat Grandma. And if you joined early, you heard a little bit of history about the name. So you might be wondering what's with the name. It's actually a grammar pun. So if you removed the comma, you would be eating your grandma, and we don't want to be doing that. So just a cheeky little pun with the comma there. And we have been around since 2015. We help professionals all across the globe with their resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, and additional career services. We've worked with 10,000 clients and counting, especially a lot more clients during the COVID-19 pandemic. So it's been super rewarding and incredible to help people get back into a new career and find their dream jobs. And we support people wherever they are in their career across industries. And we have worked with a lot of women in coding and boot camps and things like that as well. So super excited to chat with you today. And a little bit of background about myself. I am born and raised in San Francisco, and I'm now coming to you live from New York. And I studied hospitality at Cornell University, where I met Chris Villanueva, who is our founder. And in fact, the two of us used to work together in Cornell's Communications Center, where we would help students with their business writing and resumes and things like that. And he really kind of got the spark to create the company from there. And a few years later, here we are. So I started in its early stages, and now I help the New York City community with live and in-person events, additional events virtually now throughout the pandemic. And I'm really passionate about helping people find their dream jobs. I will share my contact information at the end of this and would love to connect with each and every one of you. All right, so speaking of dream jobs, let's hear from you. What are your dream jobs? It can go off mute and share.
Okay, I'll go. I'll start. So my dream job is to provide a space for women to progress their career. So that's why I started career internship, so I can do my day job and help women to return to work or help in any way that I can to improve their current career, to climb up the ladder and be in the tech space, more women in tech space. So yeah, that's my dream job.
Wonderful. Sounds like you're living it.
I'm Mary. I'm here from Philadelphia tonight. And I was working in restaurants. So with everything going on with the pandemic, I started kind of teaching myself coding So my dream job would be somewhere either in Washington, D.C. where I was working, or either New York or Philly, and just kind of having the flexibility that restaurants don't offer and access to benefits and things like that. Exciting for me.
Great. Welcome.
Oh, sorry.
Hi.
I'm Kelsey, and my dream job is to help like animal rescues, specifically like dog rescues, make their websites more efficient and like merchandising and support and all of that, and helping get more fosters and traffic and all of that.
Wow, incredible.
I can go next. Hi, I'm Rachel. I use she and they pronouns. I just finished code school in July. I'm in the process of looking for like a first kind of front end or full stack job, but my dream job, I'm really interested in having like an accessible and equitable web, but particularly thinking about like assistive technologies for like elderly. I help a lot with my grandma and my stepdad. And since going back to school and just thinking of technology and thinking of how we're aging, just like really wanting to work in that space.
Wow, that is amazing. Incredible. So I'm sure I'll meet the rest of you in the breakout sessions, but I just wanted to get a taste of, you know, what people are interested in, and I'm definitely feeling very inspired. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about career transition, returning back to the workforce, et cetera. I know a lot of you are in this boat. So we're going to cover 3 main principles today for creating a killer resume for career change. So the first is focus on where you're going, not on where you've been. So you always want to be forward looking with your resume. The next is to showcase your best of the best. So I will, again, go through all of these. And the last is to persist through the black hole. The job application process can be so daunting and frustrating. It feels sometimes like you're just applying, you're shooting your resume off into a black hole and not hearing anything back. So we're going to go through all 3 of these today and best practices for each one. And again, like I said, feel free to stop me at any time if you have a question. And the session will be recorded. We'll be posting the slides as well, so you'll have access after as well. All right, so focus on where you're going, not on where you've been. Again, you want to be forward looking, so you want to cater your resume to match with the position that you're trying to fill, not necessarily trying to make your past experiences showcase you for the position. You want to focus on what you're doing now and how that is preparing you for the position that you're trying to get to. You want to ask yourself, what keywords will my prospective employer or a recruiter use to search for me? So keywords is one of the biggest themes of today's presentation. So if you learn anything from tonight, I want you to take away how important keywords are. So what are keywords? First of all, a phrase or a word recruiters can use to search and identify better matches. Has anyone heard of ATS, Applicant Tracking Systems software? So I'll explain a little bit about what that is as well, but potentially you may have applied for something and never heard back, or not even gotten a rejection letter. And it may be because of software weeding out your resume before it even gets to a human eye, because you don't have the right keywords in there that they're looking for. So just a quick little example to explain keywords. Let's say, you know, you're coming to visit me in New York City and you want to get some Mexican food. So you would Google Mexican restaurants in New York City. But thinking about, you know, keywords and getting specific, let's say you want enchiladas, you want a 5-star restaurant, 5-star rated, and you want it to be in Brooklyn. So thinking of those keywords and putting that into Google, then, you know, just replace it with software developer or something like that, so you can see kind of the analogy there. And you really want to get as targeted and specific as possible. So in terms of sources for keywords, this is cited from Resume Magic from Susan Whitcomb, who is an amazing career guru. She asked recruiters what are the most common sources where they look for keywords. And you can see from top to bottom, most common to least. So position title, key. We will talk about how to integrate in the position title to your resume. The second most important is the nouns common to the position. Then we have location, employer names, degrees, certifications, and soft skills. And you may be wondering, why are soft skills so low ranked? Why are recruiters not searching for these? And really, it's hard to showcase soft skills on resumes. Sure, you can list them, but soft skills are more so something that you want to showcase in your interview and just with who you are and how you present yourself. So they're not as crucial for the resume. And I'll explain the ones that are most crucial with some examples. And just a quick visual, this is Bullhorn. This is an example of an ATS. So a recruiter would go in here and search for a specific role, and then be able to filter through all of the resumes that they've received based on keywords and suggested keywords. So if your resume doesn't have a specific keyword and the recruiter filtered on it, your resume would not even be in their bucket of smaller resumes to actually review and actually hit a human eye. All right, so where do you look to find keywords for each job? Anyone have any ideas of good places to look? Feel free to use the chat or jump in. Yep, job description, posting. All right, definitely you guys are on the right track. So there's 3 main areas that we recommend. The first is the job posting. So everyone nailed that. And really, we recommend treating it like scripture. So print it out, read through it, highlight, circle all the keywords. It's really like you're decoding what a recruiter is looking for you in decoding the job posting. So that's the first #1 place to go. You want to make sure that your resume has the keywords that are in the posting. The second is just standard industry descriptions. So onetonline.org is a great resource where you can search for generic position titles and see the most common keywords that recruiters are searching for and kind of basic job descriptions. So it's another great place to make sure you've got your bases covered for keywords. And then the third, speaking to hiring managers and having informational interviews. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later in the presentation, but setting yourself up to speak with subject matter experts and people who are in the field and hiring for these roles will help you understand what exactly they're looking for and how you can cater your resume specifically to that. So here's an example of a job posting for a software development engineer. Industry-leading construction engineer and design firm seeks qualified software developer for Austin-based positions. Qualified candidates, professional experience as a software test engineer, system programmer, or software developer, at least 2 years of experience, and then experience architecting container-based microservice platforms using a whole slew of platforms that I don't personally know about, but I'm sure all of you know a lot about. So go ahead and use the chat or talk. What are the keywords that you are picking out from this job description? Feel free to use the chats here. Great, software developer, excellent. Java, 100%. Nouns common to the position. Austin, yep, you got the location. All right, excellent. So here is just a visual so you can see everything that we picked out as the keywords, which all of you correctly got. So that's awesome. We'll now kind of talk about how to actually integrate them into your resume and make your resume really stand out. And that's all about showcasing your best of the best. And I want to give a quick example. So this is Jonathan. He was an actual client of ours. He was interested in one company and one position. It was his dream job and dream company. He applied to it before working with us and said, I didn't even get a generic rejection email. I didn't hear back whatsoever. So we worked with him and figured out, what are the keywords? What do we need to be including in the resume itself so that he actually presents well for this job? So just to illustrate how you can integrate and how densely you can integrate keywords, this is his actual resume that we did for him. So you can see in red, these are the most important keywords. These were pulled mostly from the job description. And then you can see additional supplemental information in yellow, also keywords not quite as relevant as the ones in red, but just as an example, so you can see all of the different areas where keywords have been integrated into the resume. We recommend having a summary of qualifications section. This is where you can really target and create your statement that will compel a recruiter to want to learn more about you by reading the rest of the resume. Recruiters on average spend 30 seconds looking at a resume. So you want to make sure that yours is really popping off of the page and really showcasing the information in an easy and digestible way while still including all of the keywords. I'll just take a quick pause and see if there's any questions. Just feel free to stop me at any time. Okay, so let's talk about how to actually integrate the keywords into the resume. And it might seem, basic, just throw them in, put in as many as you can. We've had people ask, should you put every keyword that you see in the resume or in the job description in your resume in the bottom in white text? So definitely don't do that. I will show you how actually you can do it effectively. So here's some places to include. The ones on the left we call freebies, the header, the position title. So for example, let's say you're applying to a position and you haven't held any similar positions to that one in the past. So what you can do is you can title your resume in the center right above your summary of qualifications and put the actual title of the position that you're going after. So that way, if the recruiter is filtering on the position title and you don't have it in your work experience so far, no problem. You have it in the title. Boom, you get picked up by the software. It shows that you are presenting yourself specifically for that position, so you can get super targeted with the header. Also is contact information. So everyone pulled out Austin from the example of location. So you definitely want to make sure you have the location of the job that you're applying to in your header. And let's say, you're in Denver and you're applying to a job in Austin, but you don't live in Austin yet. Instead of putting Denver as your location, you can put applying to and then Austin. So that way, if you haven't moved yet, you won't get filtered out by the software for not already living in Austin. Lastly is the file name. So instead of saving it as Mollie Eisler resume 2021, I could save it as Mollie Eisler software development executive. And right there, you have the keyword in the file name. 3 other places, we call these kind of the work for them section. This is where we'll do a little bit of work and I'll show you strategies for each. It's the summary of qualifications, your accomplishments, and also your work experiences. So let's dive into all of those with some examples. Here is an advertised job from Varonis for a software developer. Leader in data security and analytics seeks a software developer with experience developing security solutions for the NYC office. 2+ years of experience working with Varonis platform required. So we pulled out all of the keywords here: software developer, data security, analytics, security analyst, security solutions, NYC, and Varonis. And you can use those keywords to infuse the strategy for your summary of qualifications right at the beginning of your resume. So taking that into mind, it becomes seasoned software developer with 5+ years of experience in developing security solutions for NYC customers using Varonis. So here's an example of being able to target your experience, if you have this relevant experience, to the job itself, right in the summary of qualifications. Now, one question we get a lot about the summary of qualifications is this the same thing as an objective statement, or is this something different? And so objective statements are more so something that you would put, looking for XYZ positions, and kind of more of an open-ended approach. We actually recommend against using objectives in the resume. It's a little bit dated, and instead, why not showcase your best of the best with summarizing your qualifications in a keyword targeted way that matches right with the position or job type you're going after. So that's an example there of summary of qualifications. Next, for accomplishments or work experience or project related experience, you can integrate the keywords directly into your bullets. So you'll see here the first example, developed over 10 different software programs that reduced user onboarding time by at least 25%. And then you integrate the keyword right at the beginning of the bullet, product development. And boom, you have the keyword nicely integrated into your bullet. You're providing skim value for the recruiter. They can quickly read, oh, boom, 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 all of the keywords and skills needed for the position. This is just one example. This example works really well if maybe you haven't had as much experience in your past experiences, but you have some great project related experience. Why not call out exactly what you've done in the keyword just to start off the bullet? That's one example of having it right in front of the bullet. Another example is integrating it into the bullet. So developing 10 different software programs using JavaScript, which is one of the keywords that we had pulled out of the other job description. So there you're demonstrating right in the bullet what you can do and what programs you can use, and also matching it to keywords. One word of advice here is to be consistent. So just pick either integrating it into the bullet itself or having it in front. It looks a little messy if it's all over the place. So we recommend either option, just be consistent. Okay, we have a question. If you have never worked in the role with the target title, software developer, can you give an example of where you would work that into your resume? Great question. So 2 easy ways. One is in the file name, and I will show an example of what that looks like. And then the second is in the header. So let me see if I can go back here. So you'll see where it has Jonathan's name, and then there's that grayed out bar. So that actually had all of his contact information, and then directly below it, centered on the page, it had the position title he was going after. Even though he had never worked in that role in the past, you can put it right there on your resume because you're presenting yourself for that role. So that's a super easy way to get the title in there when you haven't had it yourself. Okay, so speaking of the file name, boom, super easy. Jane Smith resume final becomes Smith Product Development Manager. And while we're on the topic of file names, just always best practice to submit as a PDF, because you never know what platform or program someone's using. And another good trick is if you are saving from a Microsoft Word file, you do save as PDF, and then there will be 2 options below it. One says best for printing, and one says best for electronic distribution. And we recommend the second, best for electronic distribution. Just to make sure you are having your bases covered, you want to make sure that people can actually access and open your file. And I know we are focused today on just resumes, but you don't want to neglect other parts of the puzzle. So in your LinkedIn profile, recruiters can, search for you based on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn can pull specific keywords from your profile. So making sure that you have the keywords in your bullets, in your skills section, in your about me is great to have. A question that we get often is, should your resume mirror your LinkedIn or vice versa? And we like to think of the LinkedIn as the full picture of your career and the resume as a boiled down version that's targeted specifically to what you are interested in. So for example, you could have your 20+ year career on your LinkedIn, but you want to focus on just the past 5 years for your resume. We can also, easily copy paste the bullets from the resume right into the LinkedIn as well. So it's nice to have the match, and is less work for you. Also want to make sure you've got cover letters covered with keywords and any other attachments. And yes, for the application questions, even though it sucks and it's repetitive, you do need to fill it out, and you want to make sure that you are having the keywords in there. There are a couple of questions here. Is there any format for cover letter? I can dive into that at the end, but we recommend matching the same header that you have on your resume, so it just creates a clean, uniform look across all of your documents. And then another question is about, if you're targeting remote roles, how should you present your location? So I think that is a great question. We get that one a lot. So you should put the location that you're in, and then you can also put in parentheses remote, so that they know, you can work remote, and then something that you would also call out in your cover letter as well. And there is a such thing as really taking the keyword thing too far. So I want to explain how to not do it, to make sure that you don't have too many keywords in there, or, in the wrong place, or like I had mentioned before about putting them all in white text and stuffing them at the bottom of your resume. And of course, you want to be honest. So you don't want to exaggerate a past title to a director role if you were just an associate, etc. And you want to stay away from keyword stuffing. So here's an example of keyword stuffing. This eyesore of a gray box is actually a resume that, we've seen this type of resume before, and it's just really hard on the eyes. It's hard to read. And also the applicant tracking system software doesn't pick up images. So this skills and core competencies box was pasted in the resume as an image. So this person submitting their resume, they won't even pick up those skills anyway. So don't just throw the keywords on there and do a big dump of them. Be really intentional and put them in and weave them in some of the ways that in areas that we've outlined. Okay. So now that you know all about how to target your resume, how to use keywords, where to find the keywords, what to do with the keywords, what not to do with the keywords, let's talk about actually applying and persisting through what we call the black hole. So I want to talk about career transition, or returning to the career success tips. So we covered keywords. Keywords are key. Again, really important takeaway from this presentation. Find the right keywords, put them in your resume intentionally and intentfully. I get a lot of questions from clients and people from events about, how do you fill career gaps, or how do you manage gaps on your resume? So a couple of examples, certifications or any other, education that you have. Excellent way to fill a career gap. You can tag certifications with specific dates and things like that. So showing that you're building your skill set, it's a great recommendation for people who are transitioning due to the COVID pandemic. You can find relevant certifications and coursework that would be helpful for what you think you want to do for your future job, and just start working on them now, so that you're presenting those skills on your resume and also on your LinkedIn. You can also omit graduation dates, so to avoid ageism on resumes. If your graduation is 10 years or older, you can omit it from your resume. Another trick is dropping months from your experience dates to minimize a gap. So for example, let's say I ended a position in December of 2019, and then I didn't start a position until December 2020. Instead of showing that whole gap on your resume, you can just put the year 2019, 2020, so that it minimizes it that way. And just with that approach, you want to be very consistent. So either put the months or don't put the months. You can go just year or not. Some other tips are highlighting your relevant project experience. So a lot of you may not have direct applicable experience from past career, past experiences and past professional experiences, but you may have a ton of amazing project experience that you're working on now. So you want to call that out right in the, right under your summary of qualifications. And one tip and trick there is, instead of calling the section project experience, why not call it software development experience? And then you can just list the projects as if it was a role that you had, and it fits really nicely in and showcases that you are creating meaningful work and projects that are targeted to what you're looking for. And then another tip is creating different resumes for each job type you're applying for. A lot of clients that we have will try to make a one-size-fits-all resume that has everything in it. It's 4 pages long, and that is just not going to fly with recruiters. You want to create something that's super targeted. If you have, over 5 or more years experience, it's okay to have a 2-page resume. Don't have anything longer than a 2-page resume. And especially if you're an executive or higher level role, it's okay to have a longer resume. But at the end of the day, if you're able to boil down your most concise and relevant experience on 1 page, it's the most easy to follow. And it's not necessary to include any experience that's not relevant. You can include a direct link on your profile to your LinkedIn, so people could go there and read about your whole career story. And also on the topic of links, definitely include a link to a portfolio or any online work examples, etc. So making sure that you have all of that hyperlinked directly in your resume and also in your LinkedIn. See a couple questions in the chat. So we have, how do you keep your LinkedIn consistent with the different CVs you're creating for each job type? Awesome question. We get this a lot. So like I said, you kind of think of the LinkedIn as the full breadth of your career. You can have, you can include a ton of bullets, all the information about what you do. And then for the resume, I would pick and choose the most relevant 3 to 4 bullets from each experience. So you can have the full breadth on your LinkedIn, but then really boil it down and pulling what you have from the LinkedIn and putting it on the resume, or vice versa. So just think of the resume as a boiled down version that's super hyper targeted. For gaps, should you put in work hiatus under experience, then put in certificates or projects you worked on underneath that? Okay, that is a good question. And it really kind of depends on where you are and how long the hiatus was, but we recommend covering any gaps or things like that in the cover letter. So you can just use 1 or 2 sentences to explain. If you had a layoff due to COVID-19, you can definitely put that in your resume. Position ended due to COVID-19 pandemic. Recruiters are super used to seeing that now, so that's okay. I would say, if you have relevant experience that's recent, you can include your experience first. If not, lead with the projects and the certificates so you can showcase what you have that's most relevant. I'm going to share after this a landing page, a unique URL that is just for women who code and returnships. So you can have a whole list of resources about tips and tricks for gaps and minimizing, work work breaks and things like that. So we'll have a whole breadth of resources from our blog and also from our podcast. Another question here is for career returnship. How many previous years of experience is okay to add in your resume to avoid rejection on junior and mid-level positions? Okay, that is a great question. So I would say, again, it really depends. So you want to look at how many years experience the job description is asking for. So if it's asking for 5 years of experience, then if you have 5 years of relevant experience, include it all. If you don't have 5 years of relevant experience, you only have, 2, then put your most relevant on there and really kind of go into detail, add keywords, bolded, like at the beginning of the bullet, like we recommended in the beginning. And you can put in your summary of qualifications, how many years of experience as well. So you can match that up there. And then depending on when you graduated, like I mentioned, you can put your graduation year as well. So then that can help a recruiter understand any gap if you just have your most relevant experience on your resume. And a lot of times we have clients who are nervous to not include everything or worried about gaps. And at the end of the day, we say, just really embrace your best of the best. That was, one of the key takeaways from here is you want to really showcase your relevant experience and showcase it well. And any gaps or any questions there can be addressed easily in a cover letter, easily in an interview, and then you can transition the rest of the conversation to being directly about your most relevant experience. So even if you don't have a lot of it, you can work on including relevant keywords and expanding on what is relevant to make it feel substantial and targeted. Okay, so we are coming up to the end here. Just wanted to pass on a couple words of encouragement. Job searching, really depending on the industry, can take a long time. And it's something that, you have to just keep persisting through. You think about the numbers, 2% on average, our resumes, get looked at and read. So it's tough. There's a lot of rejection and a lot of, frustration that we see from our clients, but I want to talk about a couple of strategies to avoid that. So we talked in the beginning about having the keywords. So if you're just shooting your resume off to a whole bunch of jobs and you're not hearing back, perhaps you're getting weeded out by software and your resume isn't even being read by a human eye. So getting the keywords in there is absolutely key. We actually recommend a unique approach to finding jobs as well. So of course there's, Monster and all kinds of online job postings, but those get thousands, if not more, of applications. So, just applying and applying and applying might just seem like a very frustrating cycle because there's so many applicants out there. So we recommend a different approach, really leveraging your network. I talked earlier about informational interviews. So, going on LinkedIn, finding people you may be connected with or may be connected to the companies you're interested in, and just reaching out, sending a LinkedIn message, asking to speak with someone and learn about their career journey. You'll be really surprised. People love talking about themselves and where they've been in the past. And at the end of the day, I think, people really want to help each other, especially in a time like this. So don't be afraid to do some cold outreach. And at the same time, you're in an incredible network of women who code. So, leveraging each other on this event, and then also in the larger network, maybe finding someone who had completed the program and now is in the next phase of their career, they've returned to work. Talk to them, see, what worked for them, and maybe they have any tips and tricks, and just be, really thoughtful when you're talking to people. Don't say, hey, get me a job. Definitely a more subtle approach, and you never know, something might lead to something else. You might get referred to something. Most job positions don't even get posted. They get filled internally. So it's all about finding companies that interest you and trying to get ways to get connected, so you're not just sending application after application after application. So again, persistence is key. Don't give up. We talked about Jonathan, who got rejected from his dream job. Just to full circle on that, he worked with us. He submitted his new resume with all of the keywords. That week, he heard back. The following week, he had an interview, and the following week, he got hired, and he's in his dream role today. So hopefully that is some inspiration and can motivate everybody to keep going. I'll take a pause for questions, and also wanted to just thank everyone so much for your time. Thank you for your great questions and for being engaging. Please feel free to reach out to me. I'm Mollie at let'seatgrandma.com. This is the link here, which we'll share with you as well, which is a specific landing page that will have the recording, the slides, and all of those resources I mentioned. Check out our Career Warrior podcast on Apple and Spotify. It's a top ranking podcast in career services. Follow us on LinkedIn and on all of our social media channels. And again, as a token of our appreciation, for this amazing partnership, we are pleased to offer a 15% off promo code for any of our downloadable services, should you be interested in working with us further. So with that, I'm going to take a pause, and I'd love to go through questions, and then we can break into the smaller breakout rooms, and I'm happy to look at individual resumes.
Thank you, Mollie. It was amazing. There's a lot of things that I need to change in my resume. So yeah, it's been helpful. Yeah, so if anyone wants to contact Mollie after the event, you can email her, and we'll post all these slides and every other downloadable resources and everything in the link. I've shared that in the chat. Yeah, so if you have any questions or anything else, we have maybe we can spend one more minute, and then we can move to our individual session.
Great.
Okay, so if you don't have any question, what we can do is we can move to the workshop. We are 20 people, so let me stop the